So we're going to go through some of these, what we just described. First one, IVR, self-service applications. Calling up, checking your bank account status, checking your credit card, make sure your payment went through, seeing if an order has been shipped, seeing if ordering a pizza, checking the movie times. Polling, this would be one of those applications where people are calling into an application, right? Or it could be an outbound thing. An application is calling out to several people, asking a survey question, or maybe checking to see, letting them know that some new service is available in their area, or to vote for a specific candidate. Call that robo-dialing. Translation services we touched on. So you can have an application, someone call into an application, and maybe that calls to another person to help translate in real time some application. Location-based services. So you roam into a certain area, you get a text message or you get a phone call, lets you know some valuable services that are available in that area. Biometrics. We touched on this, identity verification. I sign up for a service online. They want to make sure you're a real person. One way to do that is to make a phone call. That phone call, when the user answers it, there's a number on the screen. They got to enter that number or say it, and then you verify. At least you verify that there is a real person assigned to this web application that you just created. Mid-call services. You're in mid-call. Hey, I'd like to record this call. A virtual assistant. Hey, take a note and save that in my personal inbox. So all of these are use cases, but at the end of the day, why do we care about these use cases? One of the reasons I care is this little line right here. This is how many new developers have been signing up for Tropo in the last, 2009 is when we launched. Started taking off here in 2010. This is the last time I counted at the end of the year. We had just cracked 100,000 developers sign up. There are lots and lots of use cases for these applications. I'm just touching on the broad ones. And for each one of these, there may be 100 or 1,000 different ones in a geographic area that you could develop. There are businesses that need these applications that are still using people to answer questions. When you call up your local restaurant, there's usually 5 questions that people want to know. What are your hours? What's the menu? What's your location? What are the prices like? You can answer all those commonly used questions with an automated system. It saves a hostess or server from having to answer those questions when they could be serving people. And it saves businesses money. So the Tropo developer community, like I said, we're about 150,000 developers. These are some of the companies that have been born out of our developer community. Just a couple examples. Getaround, it's a company in San Francisco. If you have a car and you're not using it, you can sign up for Getaround and make your car available to somebody else, and they can come and use your car. And they use text messaging to confirm that your car is available and when it's going to be returned. Babelverse is one of my favorites. They do live translation services. So if you are hosting an event or you're traveling and you need a translator, you can call into a Babelverse number, be connected to a translator that will translate for you live on the spot. WhatsApp. Anybody hear of WhatsApp? WhatsApp is sort of a group messaging and collaborative application. And WhatsApp uses Tropo for identity verification. So when you sign up for WhatsApp, I was just describing that. They actually call you assign your phone number to your WhatsApp account, and they call you, and you got to enter a PIN code, and that's how they set up your account. So we've been launching Tropo with carrier partners like Globe. Last July we launched with Deutsche Telekom in Germany. In January we launched with AT&T as part of their developer program. So Tropo is not just our service now, it's a multi-carrier service. And that's important because when you develop your applications on a platform like this, you want to make sure that you're not tied into one vendor. And so if you want to develop an application that has a global audience that reaches around the world, you're going to want an API partner that lets you move your application from one carrier to another. And so we anticipate rolling out Tropo into 16 more carriers by the end of the year. So you're not going to be just tied to one carrier. You can move your app seamlessly from one to another. As a matter of fact, last February we did a couple hackathons in Barcelona, and one hackathon was hosted by AT&T, and the other hackathon was hosted by Deutsche Telekom, and we watched developers take their code without changing anything and go from one hackathon to another and win prizes in both. So I'm going to talk about some of the core features of the Tropo API, and this is where we get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty. One of the things you can do is send and receive phone calls. So inbound and outbound telephone calls from within any web app or a mobile app. You can initiate phone calls or receive phone calls. You can conference calls together, up to 100 parties in one application session. You can do inbound and outbound text messages, and this is cross-carrier. You can send and receive text messages in about 750 different carriers around the world. We have automated speech recognition. The TLA, as I say, the three-letter acronym for that is ASR, in 24 different languages. So you can do speech reco built into the API in 24 different languages. You can also do text-to-speech in 24 different languages. And each of those languages, not all of them, but most of them have a male and female version. And then, in addition to that, there are different dialects. So, for example, in English, you've got male English, you've got female English, and then you've got British English, you've got Australian English, and in male and female. In Spanish, you have Castilian Spanish, you have Mexican Spanish, and so these speech reco and text-to-speech engines work with different dialects as well. It supports just about every major web programming language, including JavaScript, Ruby, PHP, Python, and Groovy, so you don't have to learn a new language. Tropo already speaks what language you program in, so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to learn new stuff, you just have to learn the API calls, which I'm going to go over next. Also does call recording and transcription. So you can record phone calls, save them in a WAV file or MP3, put that on a server for later retrieval. You can also have that recording transcribed and have that transcription sent to as text to an email address or and put it somewhere on a server. And then it also supports WebRTC. Does anyone know what WebRTC is? Heard of it? Yes. It's HTML5 new standard for calls in a web browser. So for the first time, the manufacturers of hardware are allowing web browsers to grab the microphone and speakers without some third-party thing. Until recently, you had to use something like Flash or Java or an applet to use the speaker and the microphone. on your computer or your phone. And now with WebRTC, you're able to do that as a web developer from the browser, which is a huge thing. Jose's going to talk a little bit more later about how groundbreakingly awesome that is. So you can do the WebRTC stuff through our Phono SDK, and that works really nicely with the Tropo API as well. So there's 16 methods, very simple API. There's only 16 things you can do with it, but those 16 things are really, really cool. I'm going to go over these really quickly. As we do the hackathon, I'm going to be around to help answer questions. And Jose's going to talk about some of these and give you some actual real-world demonstration about how some of these work. Answer an incoming call. Very simple. Somebody calls into your app, you answer it. Ask. Prompt a caller for input. This can be either DTMF, which is touch tone, or speech reco. You can call, make an outbound call, or send an outbound SMS. Conference, obviously conference multiple calls together. Get header, grab custom SIP headers. This is important primarily for enterprise call center integration. So if you don't know what SIP is or don't care, probably not all that important for you. Hang up allows you to hang up a call. It's important because sometimes after a call hangs up, you're going to want to do stuff. You might want to, save some data, record, log stuff to a database after the call is done. So right when you hang up a call, you might want to continue doing some post-call processing. Log, obviously for debugging purposes, you can log stuff. Jose's going to show you how the logger works. Message. Message is sort of like call, except it's like fire and forget. You just send a message out, forget about it. It's great for alerts or broadcast messaging. Record, you can record a call and then post or FTPs, and then you can have that transcribed as well. Redirect, you can redirect a call. Reject, you can reject calls. It's important if you have spammers, happens. You can just blacklist somebody's phone number. Say is text to speech. So you can say that's how you use the text to speech in just about any language. You can also use say to play an audio file. You can also use say to play text to speech and an audio file in the same line of code. Start call recording and stop call recording, pretty self-explanatory. You can record calls, stop recording calls. Transfer, incoming call, you want to move it to another number. That's how transfer works. And then wait. Sometimes you need to wait for something to happen. Those are in alphabetical order, not necessarily in the most